Niccolo Machiavelli wrote that a man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to grief among so many who are not good. He did not write this to incite cruelty, nor to encourage the wicked. He wrote it as a clinical diagnosis of the human condition. Imagine a boardroom at 9 a.m. on a Monday. The air is filtered, cool, and smells of stale coffee. Around the mahogany table, identities are being negotiated in silence. There is one person in this room who nods too frequently. They smile to soften the tension of a disagreement that hasn't even happened yet. They volunteer for the task that no one else wants, not because they have the time, but because they cannot bear the discomfort of a pause. This person believes they are building an alliance. They believe that by absorbing the stress of the group, they are securing their place within it. But if you look closely at the eyes of the others, the colleagues, the managers, the competitors, you will not see gratitude. You will see calculation. They have identified the path of least resistance. They have found the shock absorber. By making a profession of goodness, this individual has not purchased loyalty. They have merely announced their price, and that price is zero. In the modern hierarchy, this is not a strategy for survival. It is a slow, methodical form of strategic suicide. We are raised on the myth that kindness is a universal currency, valid in every exchange. We are told that if we are soft enough, accommodating enough, and understanding enough, the world will mirror that softness back to us. Machiavelli shattered this illusion 5 centuries ago. He understood that in the architecture of power, excessive kindness is not interpreted as virtue. It is interpreted as a lack of options. Today, we strip away the moral sentimentality to observe the mechanics of being too kind. We will examine why this behavior signals weakness to the primal brain, how it attracts predation, and why the most compassionate thing you can do for yourself is to learn the art of strategic coldness. Observation 1. The depreciation of availability. Economic laws apply to social behavior. The value of any resource is determined by its scarcity. When a resource is infinite and easily accessible, its market value drops to the floor. The overly kind person makes their time, their energy, and their attention infinitely available. They answer the phone on the first ring. They reply to the email within seconds. They clear their schedule to accommodate a last-minute request. Observe the reaction of the recipient. The first time this happens, there is a dopamine hit of gratitude. "Thank you so much," they say. But watch the timeline. By the 5th time, the thank you becomes shorter. By the 10th time, it is omitted entirely. The favor has mutated into an expectation. The psychological principle here is hedonic adaptation. Humans quickly adapt to a baseline of comfort. If you are always there, you become part of the furniture, functional, necessary, but invisible. Machiavelli noted that it is much safer to be feared than loved, because love is preserved by the link of obligation, which, owing to the baseness of men, is broken at every opportunity for their advantage. When you are too available, you rely on the other person's sense of obligation. You are betting your dignity on their memory. But people have short memories for favors and long memories for refusals. By making yourself scarce, you force them to value the moment you choose to appear. Observation 2. The mercy-contempt dynamic. There is a subtle, unspoken reaction that occurs when someone forgives a transgression too quickly. Imagine a scenario where a boundary is crossed, a disrespectful comment, a lateness, a betrayal of confidence. The nice person's instinct is to rush to the forgiveness phase to alleviate the tension. They say, "It's okay," before the offender has even finished the apology. They smooth over the rough edge. Watch the eyes of the offender in that split second. You will often see a flicker of something dark. It is not relief, it is contempt. The primal brain respects resistance. It understands the world through the physics of force and counterforce. When it pushes and encounters no wall, it does not think this person is saintly. It thinks this person is weak. Machiavelli warned that a prince must not mind incurring the charge of cruelty for the purpose of keeping his subjects united and faithful. In modern terms, this means you must be willing to let the other person sit in the cold discomfort of their own error. By removing the consequence, you rob them of the lesson, and you rob yourself of respect. A forgiveness that costs nothing is worth nothing. Observation 3. The burden of secret contracts. The overly kind individual is rarely acting out of pure, unadulterated altruism. Often they are operating under a covert contract. This is a hidden transaction that exists only in their own mind. The contract reads, "If I am self-sacrificing, compliant, and helpful, then you are obligated to be loyal, loving, and protective of me." They perform the kindness, and then they wait for the payment. But because the contract was never spoken, the payment never comes. This leads to a specific micro-behavior, the sigh of the martyr. Observe the person who does the extra work. Listen to the heavy breath, the slight slamming of the drawer, the tightness in the jaw. This is the sound of a contract being breached. They begin to accumulate resentment. This resentment is a poison that eventually leaks out in passive-aggressive comments or sudden confusing outbursts. Machiavelli understood that men are driven by self-interest. To rely on a secret contract is to build a house on sand. If you want a transaction, state the price. If you want to give, give freely, but do not give with a hook hidden in the bait, and then despise the fish for not biting. Observation 4. The magnetism of the parasite. In the natural world, a compromised immune system signals vulnerability to pathogens. In the social world, porous boundaries signal vulnerability to the dark triad personalities, narcissists, Machiavellians, and psychopaths. These predatory types are not looking for a fight, they are looking for a host. The person who cannot say no, who constantly explains themselves, who apologizes for existing, broadcasts a frequency that these predators can hear from miles away. Watch the dynamic in a new relationship or friendship. The predator tests the fence. They make a small, unreasonable request. They make a subtle, demeaning joke. The kind person laughs it off or complies, thinking, "I don't want to make a scene." The test is complete. The predator knows they have found a source of supply. By being too kind, you are not filtering people, you are curating a circle of individuals who require a victim to function. You are effectively hanging a sign on your door that says, "Resources unguarded." Observation 5. The vacuum of authority. Authority is physical, it is spatial, it is the willingness to occupy territory. The overly kind person unconsciously tries to shrink. They minimize their physical footprint, they pull their elbows in, they cross their legs tightly. When they speak, they use upward inflections, turning statements into questions. They use softeners in their language. "I just thought, maybe if it's not too much trouble, I feel like." This is the behavior of prey trying to avoid the gaze of the predator. But in a hierarchy, this shrinkage creates a power vacuum, and power abhors a vacuum. If you do not hold the space, someone else will flow into it. Machiavelli noted that unarmed prophets have always been destroyed, whereas armed prophets have succeeded. Your arms in a social context are your tone, your posture, and your willingness to speak declaratively. When you soften everything, you are not being polite, you are signaling that you do not trust your own reality. And if you do not trust your reality, why should anyone else? Observation 6. The paralysis of consensus. In leadership or group dynamics, the desire to be nice is the enemy of progress. The kind person seeks consensus. They want everyone to feel heard and validated. They hold meetings that drag on for hours because they are terrified of shutting down a bad idea and hurting someone's feelings. Observe the room during these moments. The competent people check out. Their eyes glaze over. They look at their watches. They lose respect for the leader who cannot wield the knife of decision. Machiavelli valued virtù, the ability to act decisively and effectively. He argued that a ruler who creates disorder through leniency is crueler than one who creates order through severity. By trying to please the outliers, the kind leader alienates the core. They sacrifice the mission on the altar of feelings. The result is stagnation. And in a competitive environment, stagnation is death. True kindness in leadership is clarity, direction, and the courage to disappoint people at a rate they can absorb. Observation 8. The weaponization of empathy. Empathy is a high-definition sensory tool. It allows you to read the room and understand the emotions of others. But for the overly kind person, empathy is not a tool, it is a master. They are hijacked by the emotions of others. If someone else is anxious, they become anxious. If someone else is angry, they become fearful. Manipulators understand this mechanism perfectly. They weaponize your own empathy against you. They perform distress. They play the victim. They tell you a sob story to bypass your logic and access your resources. I have nowhere else to go, they say. You are the only one who understands me. The kind person feels a biological compulsion to alleviate this distress. They are being hacked. Machiavelli advised the prince to keep his own counsel and not to be swayed by the emotional appeals of flatterers or petitioners. You must learn to observe empathy without absorbing it. You can see the drowning man and throw him a rope, but you must not jump in and let him pull you under.